Matthijs de Vries. Matthijs is the CTO and co-founder of AllianceBlock, which is building tools to help bridge the gap between DeFi and traditional finance. They're backed by Binance Labs, and they're one of the most promising crypto startups today. AllianceBlock was also Plug and Play's first partner in our crypto and digital assets vertical, and we're extremely proud to have Matthijs here today. Thank you. Please take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Good to have you all here. It's actually thanks to the work of Shafi that I can do this keynote today. And all the slides that you skipped about use cases, I can dive a little bit into that. So maybe that's helpful. Here's the clicker, perfect. Okay, let's see. Yes, so I'm the founder, one of the founders of AllianceBlock. And well, what is AllianceBlock? We enable adoption of the decentralized tokenized economy. And when I speak about we enable the adoption of the decentralized tokenized economy, what does that mean? Technically, we provide building blocks through protocols, smart contracts, SDKs, not as an agency, but really as an infrastructure provider to Web 2 and Web 3 startups or even enterprises. We focused always on bridging traditional finance with decentralized finance, and it's becoming more and more also any traditional Web 2 company, whether it's established or startup, to help them integrate Web 3 technologies if they're interested in this next phase. But also we provide a lot of solutions for Web 3 projects that are building already something in Web3 with the building blocks to do this compliantly, for example, which is an important thing that I'm going to talk about today. Because if we speak about adoption of Web3 or further driving the adoption of Web3, we have three things that we need to worry about. And one thing is usability. We need to make Web3 technologies as easy as possible to use so that we can lower the barrier so that more and more people will enter. Another thing is visibility or invisibility. We need to make Web3, some Web3 concepts like near invisible so that you shouldn't be aware of the fact that you're using a blockchain based application to interact with some service that you're interested in. It should be more to the background, abstracted away, so that will further drive adoption. Another thing is that one thing that we have to deal with is compliance. Compliance with regulations. And we see now that the European Union has put MiCA into effect, well, in 2024 is the most comprehensive legal framework for digital assets right now. And one way or another, left or right, we have to deal with it, right? So, and today I want to zoom in on how can we deal from Web3 as an industry, from a decentralized perspective, with the decentralized principles in mind. How can we deal with compliance? Because if we look at compliance, you know, if we envision like what kind of things we think about with being compliant as KYC, AML, these are really deeply personal details about yourself that you have to share in order to interact with the compliance service, right? But if we look at Web3, the decentralized industry, there are a couple of things that clash with these values, right? Because we value privacy much higher, and self-sovereignty. We want to decide which data from ourselves we want to share with whom, and well, security is very high. So if we then check, like, what kind of journey as a Web3 user we have to go through when we interact with a compliant Web3 service, then let's envision as a user that I have to do KYC to interact with the DeFi protocol. So then I have to submit my KYC data to a third party. This third party is going to send it to the KYC provider. This data is going to be verified. It's going to be sent back to the service that I want to use. They're going to store this data, maybe maybe not. I don't know how it's going to be stored. I don't know what's going to be stored, for how long. And well, then finally I can use this service. Now I want to use another service. I have to go through it again. I have to do the KYC verification again. I have exactly the same problem. This data is out there. I don't know for how long, and especially in Web3, you don't always, you're not always very sure if this data is going to be handled well. And it's just, if you use a lot of services, you know, deep in your mind, you know it's just a matter of time that it's going to be a data breach and your data is going to leak out there. It's more and more services you use, right? So we need to find a way to solve that. And actually, zero knowledge proofs, and what Shafi has been talking about today, is actually a piece of the puzzle to in order to get there. So what we envision is that we can find a way, and we found a way to do this KYC verification. For example, or any other kind of verification, but let's zoom in on KYC for now. You do this KYC verification process directly with the KYC provider, just between you as a user and the KYC provider. They send back the data to you, no one in the middle. And this data, it's stored only with you locally encrypted, so only you have access. So as a user, you can do this proactively. That means that I just want to have my KYC verification done. Without, necessarily doing it at the moment I want to interact with the service. So now, at the moment that I want to interact with the service, my KYC verification information is required. And if they integrate with this protocol, they would then tell me like what kind of information is needed. Are zero knowledge proofs okay? What's going to happen with this information? It's like when you install an app on your phone. Like you get a list of requirements where you need to go through in order to install this app, right? So if we do this, we can come to a kind of situation where if we use verifiable credentials with zero knowledge proofs in them, we can, as a protocol that's using this, we can safely say, I can interact with this person compliantly without knowing any unnecessary details. I just know like this person is above 21 years old, is in an EU country or a whitelisted jurisdiction or whatever. So that's good enough for me. So I know like this person is KYC verified, it passed PEPs and sanctions lists, all these kind of things. So this is good for me. I don't have to have an expensive KYC process. I don't have to worry about GDPR or saving, this sensitive data, because as a startup integrating compliant processes like this, it can be very cumbersome to deal with all this really sensitive data, because you have to really securely store it. It can be very expensive. Every KYC check is also very expensive. And actually, you put the control in the hand of the user, which is good for the user and good for you as a startup. So here it gives a lot of opportunities, also outside of compliance. It can be used on-chain, off-chain. It can be, for example, for the self-alcohol online, just to ask, are you above 18? Yes, good enough, without knowing the actual age. That's cool. So you can have this for blockchain protocols, DeFi protocols, but you can also use it for car rental, perhaps for driver's license, or even having a kind of record of what kind of driver you are when you rent a car, so that car rentals can take this into consideration without knowing this really personal details, right? So in summary, I think for users, it's cool because we can keep the ideologies in mind for decentralization, security, self-sovereignty, and privacy. We keep these values high, so we don't compromise. And for startups that want, or any Web2, Web3 traditional finance company that follow integration with protocols like this, it's cost saving because you need less or no people on a compliance department in order to check all these things, because this information, it can be checked automatically. So it reduces a lot of cost. So if we look like we are putting this into practice right now, we're working with the art-backed lending platform that has high net worth individuals that put the art piece as collateral for financing. We do the Web3 part. They're traditionally a Web2 company that was interested in doing this in Web3 without any experience. So we provide the building blocks to do this and do this compliantly. So what we do with regards to verifiable credentials, zero knowledge proofs, is that in the first phase right now is we take their KYC verification whitelisting information and put this on chain. So that means that we only know from them in this first phase, like this user is KYC verified. We put this yes and no kind of Boolean information on chain, and this can be verified that this is indeed true. In the next phase, we can put the deeper KYC information, anonymous information on chain, right, with the zero knowledge proofs. So this is cool because for a Web2 company, it shows that they can do really easily in stages the integration with Web3. We can start with existing KYC process, bringing it a little bit on chain, and then go from there, bring it on chain more and more. So yeah, I think for users, there is the added benefit. If we look at our own protocol, at least, we can provide the users with building a digital identity. So every protocol that they interact with, every service that they interact with, they start to collect this data, and they build their kind of own digital identity that they take with them, and it makes them easier for them to interact with any other protocol that respects the standards, which means that it will be easier to interact with the service without having to think about I have to do KYC again, or I have to share something again. And the more you use services, the more seamlessly it will go going forward. That's it. If you want to know more about how we do this really in practice or technically, find me, and love to talk about it. Thank you so much.